Gossip Girl's Blair Waldorf is an iconic queen of mean and the Upper East Side.
I'm the best of the best. I'm Blair Waldorf.
In her quest for power and control, she definitely made a lot of mistakes. But she actually got a lot more right than she gets credit for, both in her understanding of how her world really works, and in the way she had to learn to grow as a person. So let's take a look back at Blair's outlook on life and relationships, how she changed, or didn't, and the most important lessons she can teach us.
Haven't you heard? I'm the crazy bitch around here.
Blair Waldorf isn't content with just being powerful. She wants to be on top at all times. Growing up in Serena's shadow and under the thumb of her judgmental mother, Blair came to have a very shrewd understanding of what her world rewards. She understands that, no matter how hard she tries, she'll never be an effortless it girl like Serena, beguiling people with her shiny hair and mysterious need to always be somewhere else.
Actually, there's somewhere I have to go.
And so she instead set her sights on gaining power through the things she can stake out influence in, like grades and fashion.
For those last season's Toy Bush flats.
I got them on sale?
With the help of her minions, who she keeps on a tight leash, she always knows what's going on and is able to find ways to flip situations to her advantage. And she's not afraid to be very ruthless in pursuit of her goals.
You can't make people love you, but you can make them fear you.
She's able to take a step back and look at the larger picture to pull together a deeper understanding of the predicaments that befall her to make sure that in the end, she wins no matter what.
Leave it to Blair Waldorf to know that bitches don't just happen, they're made. By parents even more wicked than their offspring.
She also struggles to rule over her romantic relationships, first trying to force herself and Nate to be the ultimate high school power couple, no matter how unhappy they both were, then going on to get stuck in a never-ending back and forth with Chuck.
This means war, Blair.
Chuck.
Me versus you. No limits.
Of course, her biggest battle for power is with frenemy Serena. We first meet the pair after Serena has disappeared for an entire school year, and Blair took the spot of Queen Bee in the resulting power vacuum. Upon Serena's return, Blair is clearly aware that her time on top is under threat, and so works harder and harder to try to hold her ground.
I get it. I don't want to take any of that away from you.
Because it's just yours to take if you want it.
No, that's not what I mean.
But in this battle, we can also get our first insight into what really drives Blair, her deep sadness and insecurity. Sure, she's mad at Serena for coming back and stealing the spotlight yet again, but she's really upset at the fact that her best friend disappeared without a trace for a whole year without even letting her know what was up.
Do you know how it felt calling your house when you didn't show up at school and having your mom say, Serena didn't tell you that she moved to Connecticut?
And over the course of the show, we continually see how Blair has a hard time coming to terms with how hard she has to work to feel like she has control over her life, while it seems like everything comes so easily to Serena.
How do you manage to get out of everything unscathed?
Because I'm nice. You should try it sometime.
Because she doesn't have the easy influence of Serena, she instead feels the need to rule with an iron fist.
You need to be cold to be queen. Anne Boleyn thought only with her heart and she got her head chopped off.
While she's technically not wrong about this being an effective means to garner power over the others around her, it also means that her rule is very tenuous. Everyone's always looking for any reason to knock her down a peg.
Your being a bitch is what got dairy in your hair in the first place. Okay, be nice and neutral, and things will swing back to normal. You're the queen bee, so just let nature take its course.
And even she often feels crushed under the weight of her own persona, even if she tries to deny it. But Blair's struggle for power with Serena is so particularly interesting because it's also one of the biggest parts of her life where she is at times able to truly let go and accept not being number one. No matter how much they fought and schemed against one another, at the end of the day, they had a deeper connection that was more important than silly social power. And even Blair learned to put her need for dominance aside and focus on being a friend. And this is all part of one of the most important lessons Blair learns over the course of her story. Even though Blair was incredibly rich and at the top of the social strata of the Upper East Side, she constantly felt like her life was slipping out of her control. So much of her life had been plotted out and molded by other people who did not have her best interest at heart.
My mother just decides everything, you know?
Everything in the world is just totally up to her.
And so, in every aspect of her life that she could, she sought out any way to at least feel like she had control over her situation and the things that were happening to her. This played out in a number of self-destructive ways, including her disordered eating, which was born out of her mother's quiet cruelty.
You will never be more beautiful or thin or happy than you are right now.
Guess I have time to change.
And put some product in your hair, the ends are dry.
And because food was one of the few things that she felt she could always control. In addition to her mother's treatment, Blair feeling abandoned by her father led to her feeling completely unmoored.
My father left my mother for a 31-year-old model. I feel like screaming because I don't have anyone to talk to.
This made her take an even tighter grip on everyone who was still in her life, but usually led to her trying to control them in an effort to make sure that they could never leave her.
I just wanted to do something nice. Is that so hard to believe?
Yeah, pretty much.
Over time, Blair honed her need for control into a finely tuned weapon.
You're Blair Waldorf. Punishment is your middle name.
But the real thing she eventually got right was learning when to use this power and when to relinquish control. Her ability to scheme and run into battle against anyone certainly helped her and her friends get out of several sticky situations. But the fact that it was a compulsion for her meant that it also caused her a lot of grief. And so over time, she came to better understand that even she, Queen Bee Blair, can't control every single thing in the entire world. And that's okay.
Here's my advice. Have a little faith, and if that doesn't work, a lot of mimosas.
And it's through this growth that she's able to begin finding real moments of happiness and connection with those around her. Blair is, of course, capable of being vicious to anyone, even those closest to her. But underneath the mean shell she uses as armor is a very loyal, caring person. She doesn't always show that side of herself in the best ways, especially since it often presents as an effort to control the people she cares about because she thinks she knows what's best for everyone.
Serena is so grateful because she likes to see the best in people. I like to see the truth.
But she is willing to drop everything for the people she holds dear, and even comes to defend others that she never thought she would see as equals.
For what it's worth, you're my queen. I choose you.
Blair certainly does not always go about being a friend in the best way, but deep down she understands how important it is to have people in your corner.
There's no such thing as too awful between friends. We don't judge, remember?
And how that means you need to be there for them, too. She's able to step out of her Ice Queen role and be a real friend when she can tell one of her friends is really down, and is especially always willing to help find a way to help Serena out of a bad time.
What are you doing this weekend?
Eating leftovers and feeling horrible.
No, you're coming to Paris.
What? I am?
My mom and I are catching the red eye tonight. If you're gonna be sad, you might as well be sad in Paris.
It's often in the most dramatic, sometimes dangerous moments in her friends' lives that her willingness to be there for them no matter what really shines.
We're sisters. You're my family. What is you is me. There's nothing that you could ever say to make me let go. I love you.
One of the most melodramatic moments of the show's first season was the iconic All About My Brother cliffhanger.
What is it? I killed someone.
Naturally, one might assume that mean girl Blair would immediately use this information to blackmail Serena and make her life hell. But she instead chooses to stand by her friend and make sure that she knows she's not alone.
You can tell us anything. We don't judge. We're the non-judging breakfast club.
It can be difficult for anyone to own up to being in the wrong, but for an ultra-controlling queen bee like Blair, it can feel nearly impossible. But even with her penchant for bad behavior, she did often manage to come around and realize when she went too far, and was often even willing to apologize. A major source of her growth in this area was learning to be more upfront about what was actually wrong, what she was truly angry about, so that issues could really get resolved instead of just continually escalating.
You knew, Serena. And you didn't even call.
Eric told me what happened. I guess your family's been going through a hard time too.
And as she started to become more aware of what was really driving her anger, she became more able to have these more truthful conversations and reach new levels of understanding with the people she cared about, even if she still needed a little push.
What did my text supposedly say?
That you're sorry and you miss me.
Given how often she was unkind to others, she probably never really apologized as much as she should. But the fact that she was willing to at all does separate her from a lot of other on-screen mean queens. Initially, one of the things Blair feared most was change. Her abandonment issues and her constant concern that she would be totally left out of power and become a pariah combined to create a constant undercurrent of fear that any change in her life would only lead to negative consequences. And so, the status quo must be maintained at all costs. But not even Blair Waldorf can stop the natural ebbs and flows of life. Over time, however, she comes to accept that this isn't always a bad thing. Sometimes the things you weren't expecting aren't disastrous, but instead amazing. And sometimes it is worth the risk to find out.
You have to decide what's most important to you. Keeping your pride in getting nothing, or taking a risk and maybe having everything.
Serena was constantly working to get Blair to relax and go with the flow, and shake her out of her inclination to let her fear of change stop her from taking big leaps in life.
I've been waiting all summer to feel sparkly again, and I won't be pulled back into the darkness.
And sometimes things don't work out, and that's okay too. Blair comes to understand the power of accepting change in many of her relationships, like accepting that her mother's new husband, Cyrus, is actually pretty great. She goes from battling Jenny for high school dominance to working with her on a fashion line. Probably her biggest change is opening herself up to a relationship with Lonely Boy himself. Initially, she and Dan were constantly at odds. He saw her as an elitist meanie, and she saw him as a sneaky interloper. But even early on, they found that they actually had more in common than they thought.
Since we have nothing in common and are, in fact, opposites.
The kind of opposites you do not attract.
Most definitely not.
They eventually realized that they shared a lot, from taste in books and movies to having a real drive to go after what they want in a way their other friends didn't. Her time with Dan allowed her to access her more human side and focus on things she cared about outside of her relationships.
Fashion is the most powerful art there is. It's movement, design, and architecture all in one.
And because they weren't constantly in a battle for power within their relationship, she was able to feel a level of security.
And what if I lose everything?
You'll still have me.
Over the course of the show, Blair again and again came to realize that change doesn't have to be the end of the world, and can in fact be the start of a wonderful new one. Unfortunately, Blair didn't get to totally have the arc that she deserved. In the later seasons, a lot of her growth was undone in service of forcing her back into her relationship with Chuck, and keeping her as a more stereotypical mean girl. But even in spite of that, there is a lot of interesting personal evolution and even good to be found in her story. She exemplifies both the dark reality of the elite world, and the fact that there can be a lot more going on with a mean queen bee than meets the eye.
Between being traded for a hotel and selling out for a tiara, I lost my true self. But I want to be found.
She shows us that no matter how much we might want to control everything in the world, letting go can actually be the most rewarding thing of all. But also, there's nothing wrong with bringing out your queen bee side every once in a while.
You know what I just remembered? If you really want something, you don't stop for anyone or anything until you get it.
Why is everyone on Gossip Girl so obsessed with Serena? The series literally starts with Serena returning to New York, and we learn in the series finale that Gossip Girl itself only exists as a way for lover boy Dan Humphrey to win Serena's heart. The Gossip Girl characters are fixated on Serena as the ultimate it girl, someone who manages to effortlessly captivate everyone around her.
But everyone knows Serena. And everyone is talking.
And fans felt the same way. Almost a decade after the series ended, Serena's hairstyle is popular on TikTok, and actress Blake Lively's real-life outfits are scrutinized for ties to the character. We still love to talk about Serena because she was just that attractive.
Serena looked effing hot last night. There's something wrong with that level of perfection.
But Serena's appeal also comes, in part, from her ambivalence. The sense that she doesn't actually want to be part of the world of New York's elite. Still, is her nice rich girl persona just an act? Serena is contrasted with the rest of the Gossip Girl characters and presented as the rare person who's truly worthy of her expensive lifestyle. Here's our take on how Gossip Girl encourages us to strive to be rich and gorgeous like Serena, while it reminds us there's no way we'll ever truly be like her.
The rules
rules are different for the Serena Vanderwoodsens of the world. People expect you to party and be wild, sleep with whoever you want, run away, come back.
Serena's character is defined by the fundamental tension between her distaste for the trappings of the Upper East Side and the ease with which she slips into many of the most luxurious, decadent activities the 1% has to offer. In the very beginning of the series, Serena tries to avoid her community, returning to New York largely in order to watch her younger brother. During the first season, she consistently tries to get her life back on track, like when she pushes Georgina away so she can focus on her college admissions tests.
I'm supposed to be at Dan's studying. I called to tell him I'd be late, but not this late.
Serena is framed as trying to shed her party girl habits and be treated more seriously. Serena's romantic interest in Dan is itself used to show how different she is from everyone else around her. The other elite characters like Chuck and Blair try to ostracize Dan because of his perceived lower-class background, but this is a plus for Serena.
You really go out with some guy you don't know?
Well, you can't be worse than the guys I do know.
Not only does she attempt to use her relationship with Dan to feel down to earth and connected to his genuine literary talent, she also uses it to define herself in opposition to the rest of her social circle. And when Serena and Dan date, their relationship is built in part on their shared innocence, in the sense that neither of them really want to be associated with the machinations and cruelty of their community. Serena is willing to risk her friendship with Queen Bee Blair in order to align herself with Dan's theoretically more authentic persona.
Well, since you and your reputation obviously don't need me and my low-rent taste, you and the Waldorf name can weather this storm alone.
The last season literalizes Serena's resistance to her own identity by having her pretend to be someone else. The season begins with Serena going by the name Sabrina and claiming to be from Wisconsin, about to marry an unsuspecting vitamin CEO.
I wanted to start fresh without any of you. As for why I pretended to be someone else, well, I think that explains itself.
Eventually, she even turns on Dan when she learns he's been exploiting her socialite life for salacious writing material.
Since then, I've been the empty-headed blonde and Inside, and the golden girl with daddy issues and Inside Out. Your writing changed, and so did you.
In each case, Gossip Girl wants us to sympathize with Serena and to think that she is more deserving of what she has precisely because she tries to avoid having it. Is all this kind of an act, though? Though Serena often claims to reject the trappings of the Upper East Side, she frequently turns to the wealth of her family and friends in response to any adversity. After her breakup with Dan at the end of the first season, Serena flees to the Hamptons. After her breakup with Nate at the end of the third season, she flees to Paris with Blair to go on a months-long shopping spree.
When you asked me on this trip, you promised me retail therapy. I fell asleep thinking about guys named Louboutin and Laurent. Home doesn't exist until we're there.
And while Serena uses her relationship with Dan as a way to try to break out of her stifling environment, nearly all of her other romantic interests are from the same social class. Carter Bazin, Aaron Rose, Gabriel Edwards, Trip Vanderbilt, even Dan, who's still pretty well off, even if he's not Upper East Side royalty, becomes part of Serena's social world by virtue of dating her.
Without Serena Vanderwoodsen, who would I have dreamt about? I might have spent my whole life on the outside if you hadn't let me in.
Serena's professional life, too, is largely defined by coasting on her proximity to power and status. When she works as a publicist, she's able to convert her social standing into professional influence, since she can merely transfer her social connections into career ones and persuade VIPs to show up at the right events. And though Serena spends much of Gossip Girl trying to avoid her own destiny, the end of the series confirms that it's actually good for her to just embrace being such an elite bombshell star. Blair gives Serena a pep talk about how special she is and how badly people can and should want to be her.
Reinvention is for starlets from trailer parks who want to be you.
So Gossip Girl ultimately suggests that her doubts and attempts to pretend to be someone else are unfounded, rather than rational reactions to the people or society around her. And who exactly is this self that Serena is embracing? Serena is not only born into wealth and power, she's also naturally beautiful. So Serena deciding to accept herself isn't an example to the rest of us. It's just an indication that we're right to be either jealous or obsessed. Perhaps most damning of all, Serena lets slip that her performance of disdain for being Gossip Girl's obsession is kind of fake. On the day of the character's high school graduation, Gossip Girl threatens to avoid talking about Serena forever.
And as for Serena Vanderwoodsen, after today, you are officially irrelevant.
And though initially Serena seems to relish the idea of getting out of the spotlight,
I just can't wait for this day to be over. The end of high school means the end of me on Gossip Girl.
She eventually admits to Dan that she wants to be the center of attention and secretly loves her status as the it girl.
I don't want to be irrelevant.
Irrelevant? You're Serena Woodsen.
This is a funny way of conveying a classic film and TV lesson. That it's important to simply be yourself and to be proud of who you are, but it's easy for Serena to be proud of who she is because she has everything.
Okay, if you ever wanted something so badly, but you just know you're not gonna get it. No, that's right. I forgot who I'm talking to. Of course you haven't been.
How does Serena manage this tension between her stated desire to disown her social status and her clear comfort and enjoyment of the attention and comforts that come with it?
I think you get no special treatment at all. Your life is completely uncharmed and average.
Ultimately, Serena's defining trait, the thing that allows her to have her cake and eat it too, is her naivety. She has an inexhaustible ability to trust that things will work out for the best, even when they normally wouldn't. At least not for non-1%ers. And like she's a character on a sitcom, everything just always manages to work out for Serena.
How do you manage to get out of everything unscathed?
Because I'm nice. You should try it sometime.
Serena may claim this is because she's a nice person, but her attitude is only half the story. Because in contrast to Dan or most normal people, Serena can afford to be naive. When she does get betrayed or come close to a bad consequence, she can just retreat to her family, her friends, and her wealth. To retreat to merely being Serena Woodsen.
But I made a call.
You did what?
It was harder than usual. That new headmistress of yours is a real piece of work. I had to go over her head.
And even though Serena acts shocked that Bart gave a donation to make sure she didn't get expelled from high school, on some level, she's really pretending, to herself as much as anyone. Serena is magnetic to everyone around her because, in addition to her looks and status, she has a famed radiance and joyful vivaciousness.
Serena, you're the most beautiful, amazing, alive person I've ever known.
But the truth is that she could never maintain such an innocent, joyful-feeling aura if she let herself get too bogged down in the dirty details of the unfairness her privilege really entails, or the true ruthless nature of many of her closest acquaintances. Her innocence is, in part, a willful ignorance. Serena can be friends with Nate for years and pretend she doesn't know how he feels about her.
You left me?
Of course I did.
She can maintain her optimism and free-spiritedness even in grim circumstances like when she seems to be facing expulsion.
Look, I got you into this. I'm gonna get you out of it, okay? Trust me.
Throughout this series, Serena tries to assume the best in people, whether it's Dan, her parents, or even Chuck. And though she's frequently burned by the people she trusts, her belief in them is still often proven to be justified in the end, as with Chuck's eventual redemption. Serena's whole appealing vibe of innocence and joyful radiance is based on trusting in this certainty that everything will always be okay for her, while also ignoring why that's the case and pretending she's just like anyone else. And she can't even fully acknowledge this contradiction, or she'll upset the balance that provides the foundation for the rest of her life.
Are you really turning this into an upstairs-downstairs thing?
Gossip Girl tries to get us to identify with Serena's fundamental ambivalence about her own identity and background, so we can respect her as at least sort of a moral person. But what this really enables is encouraging us to like Serena and want her to enjoy all of her wealth guilt-free. Gossip Girl presents Serena as an example of the best the Upper East Side has to offer. Someone who's just that rich, looks the part, and kind of deserves to have everything.
Earn the spotlight on your own merits. You'll feel better.
Yet the only way for any of us to follow her example is to be as wealthy and beautiful as she is. All these years later, and Serena is still a topic of conversation, proving one of the fundamental principles of Gossip Girl. It's always more desirable to be at the center of the worst rumors than to not be in the conversation at all.
Gossip Girl's Dan Humphrey made his way from, well, not really the bottom, more like the top of the middle, to the very top of the elite society of New York City's Upper East Side.
Dan Humphrey, the ultimate insider.
In the finale, it was revealed that this upward climb wasn't just a fluke of fate and circumstance, but a deliberate weaseling in on his part. It turned out that he, of all people, was anonymous rumor monger Gossip Girl, and had been ruining his friends' and family's lives, and his own, for years, all as part of a twisted bid to help him cement his place in this elite world.
That's the point. You're no one until you're talked about.
If we ignore the parts of his story that don't make a whole lot of sense, like all of the times he was surprised by his own Gossip Girl blasts, we can see that while Dan was shady, he wasn't really wrong about how the world works, and what one has to do if they really want to break their way into those kinds of insular, exclusive social circles as an outsider. So let's take a deeper look at the pretty dark lessons we learn from Dan's story.
And who am I? That's one secret I'll never tell. The only one. XOXO. Gossip Girl.
There's a refrain we sometimes hear, that the things we want will come for us when the time is right if we just want them hard enough, because it'll be fate. Dan shows how this isn't really the case. If you really want something, you have to go after it full speed ahead. And if you want something that's hard to get, like say a spot in one of the most cliquish, elite social circles in the country, you're probably going to have to do some pretty unsavory and even cruel things to make it happen. Dan, it seems, was more than up for the challenge.
There will always be someone on the outside wanting to get in.
He spent the entire show working to leverage everything he could think of to make sure he not only got in, but wouldn't be able to get pushed out. That includes dragging his own family through the dirt and even wrecking his own reputation for plausible deniability.
I cannot believe you are the one responsible for all of this poison. The damage you've done to your friends, to your family, to your own sister.
Of course, a lot of this, especially in the earlier seasons, was actually because the writers didn't plan on him being Gossip Girl, and so the choices only become super messed up in hindsight post-reveal. But if we take it as his legitimate full series arc, that he masterminded Gossip Girl and all of the chaos it brought to forward his own aims, it actually does make a lot of sense. The world he wanted to break into isn't based on merit or ability or kindness. It functions off of many of the darker realities of our world. And so if he was to truly become a part of that world, then he needed to really embrace that darkness.
No matter how much we love Lily and Serena, they're always gonna choose guys like Bart Bass.
So maybe the trick is to become Bart Bass.
In this world that works so hard to keep outsiders out, he knew that if he wanted to become a permanent member of these circles, he wouldn't be invited in. He would have to find their weak spots and exploit them. In a way, Dan is similar to Queen Bee Blair. They both feel that they're missing something that would grant them the ability to have everything they really want without any friction. For her, charm; for him, social standing. Serena, for both of them, represents that thing they feel they lack. Thanks to her privilege, charm, and power, she's able to swan her way through life getting everything she wants without ever really trying, or seemingly even having to think about it much.
How do you manage to get out of everything unscathed?
Because I'm nice. You should try it sometime.
Both Dan and Blair, on the other hand, feel like they're constantly fighting tooth and nail just to attempt to get near that same level. And we can see this come out in the malicious ways they go about getting the power they desire. Blair through being a mean girl, Dan through being a sneaky little snake snarking behind everyone's backs. Dan, we're led to believe in the end, had been laser focused on his goal of climbing the ranks of the Upper East Side since the very first moment we met him.
All I had to compare to this world was what I'd read in books. But that gave me the idea.
While he has an idea of what he wants and how to get there, he doesn't really have a clear path, and so constantly has to improvise solutions and find ways around obstacles. He writes his own story, figuratively and literally, taking every chance he can to mold his life and this new world he's arrived in into what he wants it to be.
And when Serena came back from boarding school, I wrote my first post about me. Lonely boy. The outsider, the underdog. I might have been a joke, but at least people were talking about me.
Season after season, all kinds of chaos and drama came his way, much of it apparently created by him, but he was always able to find a way to spin everything to his advantage in the end.
Okay, so this is your payback. Do you feel better about riding the subway to school since you made a fool of me and everyone?
His obsession with Serena functions as a metaphor for his larger obsession with success, and particularly the outward appearance of success.
Every writer needs his muse. And it wasn't until that photo of Serena that I knew I had something strong enough to actually create a legend.
He knew that by snagging Serena, the it girl of the Upper East Side, it would prove to everyone else that he was worthy of being amongst them.
Without Serena Van der Woodsen, who would I have dreamt about? I might have spent my whole life on the outside if you hadn't let me in.
But in this, we also see the dark truth that exists at the core of this obsession. He doesn't just want to join these ranks. He also wants to punish others for ever keeping him on the outside. Being Gossip Girl afforded him the really gross opportunity to continually knock Serena down a peg.
And as for Serena Van der Woodsen, after today, You are officially irrelevant.
Because he knows that she'll never truly fall out of favor in this world, but causing her to suffer public humiliation allows him moments to feel like he's the powerful one in this relationship. He resents and is simultaneously obsessed with Serena in the same way he is with the entire world that she inhabits, and in many ways represents. And so feeling power over her makes him feel like he has power over everyone.
It has always been your world, and you've never let me forget it. I've always been a visitor. The poor kid from Brooklyn who you've never seen as an equal.
Money may not be able to buy happiness, but it can buy and fix pretty much anything else. Dan knows that by securing his spot in the upper echelon and getting access to their immense wealth, he would open himself up to a new level of power that he never would have had access to otherwise.
Membership in this community was so elite, you couldn't even buy your way in. It was a birthright I didn't have. And my greatest achievements would never earn me.
If he could make it to that level, he knew his indiscretions and bad behavior wouldn't really matter that much in the end. Because money can paper over pretty much any problem in this world. Nothing really affects you that much when the blow of every problem you encounter is cushioned by your immense wealth.
You can tell us anything. We don't judge. We're the non-judging breakfast club.
And in the end, he's right. We can see this in everyone's reaction to the reveal of Dan being Gossip Girl. Sure, they're upset initially, but not really that mad.
Why do you all think that this is funny? Gossip Girl ruined our lives.
Your life really ruined, Blair.
If you think about it, we're all on track to do exactly what we wanted to do.
For us normal people, finding out that one of the closest people to us had been not only lying to us for years, but also using some of the lowest points of our lives to set up their own career would be a relationship ender at a minimum. But for the non-judging Breakfast Club, it's just another mean, annoying thing one of their friends has done that they'll end up getting over after a trip to the spa.
What I did is no worse than what all your friends do to each other every day. You try to ruin each other, and then you sit down for Thanksgiving, and you call yourselves family.
To ensure this highest class continues to exist means making sure that their peers are never really subject to consequences that are too grave. Because if one person starts getting in trouble, it could mean that all of the dominoes begin to fall. So once Dan is well and truly in, he joins that protected bubble and gets to float on without trouble, just like he had always planned.
You think they hate me?
They fear you. Welcome to the Upper East Side.
Dan could have gone full Patrick Bateman, living completely devoid of any connection to anyone or any desire for anything other than aesthetic things. But he did, even in the course of all of his shady behavior, form bonds with people and seemed to genuinely care about them. The show tried to handwave away some of his more egregious behavior as Gossip Girl, as him actually trying to be helpful to the people he cared about. Like the explanation that his blast about Jenny, including the one exposing her for having lost her virginity to their stepbrother, were actually trying to help her.
She sent that tip in herself. She wanted to get out of New York. But she didn't feel like she had the strength to leave it around, so she knew if Blair found out the truth, she wouldn't have a choice.
He also seems to form a genuine relationship with Blair. They butted heads for seasons, but come to realize they're much more alike than either of them would like to admit. For two people who were so hungry for power, they were surprisingly able to find a nice equilibrium in their relationship, where they weren't vying for control, but actually genuinely there for one another in a caring way. In contrast to his obsessive relationship with Serena, his relationship with Blair actually seems to be with Blair herself, and not just the idea of Blair Waldorf. For both of them, their relationship was a nice opportunity to step outside of the shells they had built up and form real bonds.
And what if I lose everything?
You'll still have me.
Maybe it's not blood bonds that make us a family. Perhaps it's the people who know our secrets and love us anyway.
And could have gone on to be used to show how it's actually better to build a positive life around the people and things that bring you comfort and joy, instead of drama and pain, but this is Gossip Girl. In the end, it seems like Dan has secured everything he's ever wanted. The career, the success, the money, the wife. But no one who has spent years and years building up their life on deceit and power struggles is going to be able to just sit back and chill once they get what they initially wanted. There will always be a new mountain to conquer. Nothing will ever really be enough for Dan. Eventually, the book sales will wane, and the magazine pieces will slow down, and he'll need something new to wrest back control and power. power, and that will probably mean blowing up his life and hurting everyone around him again. Since this is par for the course for this group, it probably won't even come as a surprise to them. But it does shine a different light on Dan's insistence that he only did what he did because it was the only way for him to reach his goal. Because the truth is that goal will always be moving away from him. That kind of desire isn't something one can ever truly satiate.
The Upper East Side was like something from Fitzgerald or Thackeray. If I wasn't born into this world, maybe I could write myself into it.
He'll always be looking for a way to feel more powerful, over his career, over Serena, over the entire Upper East Side. Never able to truly enjoy what he has gained, because he can only see what he hasn't seized yet. Dan's story of deception is, in hindsight, pretty creepy and weird, but it's not actually that unrealistic. Sure, it's played up quite a bit because it was a teen soap on the CW, but the basic rot at the core of what drives him is a real problem in the real world. He's a cautionary tale for how greed and desire can turn you into the villain in your own story. And in the end, an example of how, while it might feel lonely at the bottom, it'll be just as lonely at the top if you give up everything else to get there.
You were supposed to be different.
I used to be. Got me nowhere. So now I'm the same.
That's the take. Click here to watch the video we think you'll love, or here to check out a whole playlist of awesome content. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications.